Guys, please let me know if my screen is visible. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So guys, yesterday we were doing a project, right? The Hive data analytics project. So before we proceed ahead today with Spark, anyone have any question? Like I know that we have parked the first problem statement, first part of the problem statement, but other than that, anyone who is not able to create Hive table or run any SQL query, or anyone who completed the first part or want to discuss, because I have I'm asking Damini to share the actual solution for that before I tell you any solution from my end. Okay. So once I have that solution, the SQL solution, I will share with you and then we will discuss. I don't want to put much time into that because that problem statement is not properly defined. Okay. So I first need the SQL solution from Damini and then I will share with all of you. Okay. But before we proceed to Spark today, any question in any topic that we have done so far? Gulzar says he cannot locate that project. So, okay, Gulzar, let me share the direct link with you. I think I shared it yesterday, but let me check. Gulzar, 1 second. Thanks, people, for sharing that. Gulzar, please check if you are able to access this link. And Damini, if you are available on the call, it will be great if you can share the solution for this project, जिसका link अभी विपुल ने share किया है, because we had some doubts yesterday. So I need the solution for this project. It's there in the LMS only. Okay. So guys, I think we are was also asking me today. You were also asking me today. हाँ Tanya, go ahead. हाँ उसमें क्या क्या डाउट है तान्या? Okay. देखो Tanya, it's very simple. Whenever you have nano, so after nano, you should type the file name and then enter. Like nano space file name and then enter. And then you can type in your queries there and come out of the nano. लेकिन कल हमने क्या किया, हमने सिर्फ नैनो लिखा और उसने एक तरह से आपके लिए एक ब्लैंक फाइल खोल दी. अब जब ब्लैंक फाइल में आप कुछ भी टाइप करते हैं तो उसके बाद जब आप एग्जिट करते हो नैनो तो वो आपसे पूछता है कि फाइल का नाम बताओ जिसमें आपको ये सेव करना है. तो जब आप नैनो से एग्जिट करेंगे कंट्रोल एक्स करके वो आपसे कहेगा येस और नो, आप कहोगे येस सेव इट वाई, तो उसके बाद वो फाइल नेम पूछता है. नीचे अगर आप सबसे नीचे देखेंगे वो फाइल नेम आप टाइप कर दो तो वो एक उस नाम की फाइल बना देगा आपको. तान्या, प्लीज ट्राई दैट. तो आइडियली सिर्फ नैनो टाइप नहीं करना चाहिए क्योंकि वो ब्लैंक फाइल खोल देता है. आप नैनो स्पेस फाइल नाम लिखो और उसके बाद आप नैनो खोलेंगे तो आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आएगी. ओके. So Tanya, give me 1 second. So Tanya, I have given you the screen sharing, right? Please do that. Okay. आप उसे दोबारा ट्राई करना तान्या, it will be done. So you can give back me the screen share then. Okay. No problem, Tanya. I'll show you later. Or if you want, I will give you the screen share later. ठीक है, give back the control to me then. Okay, guys. So let's get started. Now, today the agenda for the day is to start Spark and to start coding in Spark. Okay. So how it happened is, see, आज से करीब 4-5 साल पहले की अगर हम बात करें तो बिग डेटा का जब भी हम नाम लेते थे तो Hadoop was the only solution. Okay. You say big data, then Hadoop was the only solution. जब मैं Hadoop कहता हूं तो मतलब HDFS, MapReduce, Hive, Pig, ठीक है, Uzi, यही सब solutions होते थे हमारे पास. Java, primarily Java based solutions. और Hadoop में everything was like MapReduce. But the problem with MapReduce was it was quite slow. मान लो ये कोई फाइल है जिसको आपको MapReduce से प्रोसेस करना है. प्रोसेस का मतलब है या इस हर केस में MapReduce ही चलेगा. तो कोई भी फाइल जब प्रोसेस होती थी या कोई मल्टीपल फाइल जब प्रोसेस होती थी तो आपका एक मैप फेज चलता था और एक ऑप्शनल रिड्यूस फेज चलता था. ठीक है. अब होता क्या था कि मैप फेज जब कंप्लीट होता था उसका जो भी आउटपुट होता था वो हार्ड डिस्क पे लिख देता था, हार्ड डिस्क पे स्टोर करता था और रिड्यूसर्स को हार्ड डिस्क से ही वो रीड करना पड़ता था. ठीक है. तो अल्टीमेटली द प्रॉब्लम वाज दिस प्लेस. What was happening between mappers and reducers? You were writing the output of mapper in disk and reducers were reading from the disk. So this, you all understand that reading and writing from disk is always slow. Prefer processing in memory because memory में अगर आप कुछ प्रोसेस करते हो तो वो फास्ट होता है as compared to disk. तो ये एक बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम थी MapReduce में. तो इसी को प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने के लिए प्लस और भी बहुत सारे एनहांसमेंट्स करने के लिए a team of developers or researchers, they started with one project and that project was Spark. Okay, Spark. So Spark was started as an open source project, Apache Spark. Okay, but those people who did this project later opened their own company. Anyone know the name of that company? Anyone? Yes, no? That's Databricks. Okay, it's one of the very famous companies in the big data world and one of the dream company for the big data developers primarily. Okay, I have multiple friends working in this company, some in US, some in Europe. Okay, now this company Databricks, it completely owns the Spark now. तो मान लो कल को आपकी कंपनी में आपको अगर स्पार्क पे काम करना है तो आप लोग अपाचे स्पार्क ना यूज करके डेटाब्रिक्स स्पार्क यूज करेंगे, उसका कमर्शियल वर्जन ना, उसका ओपन सोर्स वर्जन नहीं यूज करते. ज्यादातर हम उसका कमर्शियल वर्जन यूज करते हैं क्योंकि उसमें हमें बहुत ज्यादा सपोर्ट मिलता है, बहुत ज्यादा और बेनिफिट्स मिलते हैं. ओके, क्योंकि ओपन सोर्स में सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम ये है कि कल को कुछ फेल हुआ तो नो वन इज देयर टू सपोर्ट यू. तो इसलिए पीपल आर गोइंग विद डेटाब्रिक्स स्पार्क and this company is investing heavily in improving it. Okay, they are investing a lot in improving the Spark. Okay, तो अभी तक हमें इतना तो क्लियर हुआ कि चलो स्पार्क क्या है, डेटाब्रिक्स क्या है। अब स्पार्क जिन लोगों ने बनाया उनके पास ऑप्शन ये था कि भाई स्पार्क बनाने के लिए हम क्या प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज यूज करें। जावा वाज वन ऑफ द ऑप्शन, but they preferred a similar language, not same, which was Scala. Okay, Scala programming language, because Scala is a functional programming language. So like Java is an object oriented programming language, I was telling you, right, there are functional programming language which have their own benefits, and functional programming is the future. Okay, it's the future now. But both Java and Scala, they run on JVM. You all are now aware about JVM, JRE, JDK, right? So both of them, they run on JVM machines. Okay. So now Scala is something that was preferred. So now the question is, who built Scala and who built Spark? The name of the main developers. That's one thing. We will see that. Then how Spark is better than MapReduce? We will see that. MapReduce was for batch processing, right? Batch processing. But Spark can do both batch as well as real-time processing. Means within seconds it can give you result. It's very, very fast. Okay, very good. Spark have a complete architecture of its own. We will talk about it. It have own ecosystem. जैसे Hadoop में ecosystem होता है, right? Hadoop के ecosystem के components क्या होते हैं? कोई मुझे बताएगा? Hadoop ecosystem के components क्या हैं? अगर कल को इंटरव्यू में आप जाते हो, someone asks you Hadoop के ecosystem के components क्या हैं? HDFS, MapReduce, very good Nishtha, Hive, Pig, Uzi, Scoop, everything. Yes, Aditi, absolutely. Just cut Impala from that, Aditi. Okay, just cut Impala because Impala does not run MapReduce, and Impala was given only by Cloudera. Okay, but absolutely correct. Yarn, very good. Yarn also we should not say its component, but you are fine. That's fine, Nitika. Because Yarn is like a cluster manager, and I told you guys that Yarn का Hadoop से कोई लेना देना नहीं है. It came in Hadoop 2.0 just for better management of the system. तो मतलब Yarn was created separately, but Hadoop वाले लोगों ने उसको यूज किया, लेवरेज किया कि आपके जॉब ट्रैकर पे जो पहले जॉब ट्रैकर होता था उस पर ज्यादा लोड ना पड़े, इसलिए यार्न इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया. But it's fine if you say yarn, but you should know that the difference. Okay. So you guys are good enough now to go into Spark. And one more thing, like you will hear a lot that Hadoop is dying, Hadoop is out of market. So that is correct to some extent. But that does not mean that big data is out of market. That means Spark is taking over. So now if big data jobs are coming in the market, so they are for Spark developers instead of Hadoop developers. Okay. But Hadoop is still the basis of everything. Primarily Hive. Hive is the most important part of Hadoop, जो कहीं नहीं जाने वाला. इसलिए आई फोकस कि आप एसक्यूएल सीखो बिकॉज हाइव कहीं नहीं जाने वाला. चाहे हडूप चला जाए, हाइव इज स्टिल देयर बिकॉज इट्स एसक्यूएल इंजन. ओके. या फिर हाइव का ही कोई ऑल्टरनेट आ जाएगा जिसमें एसक्यूएल ही एसक्यूएल चलाना है आपको. अगर हाइव भी चला गया तो एसक्यूएल तो रहेगा ही रहेगा. ओके. Okay. So now we are talking about Apache Spark. So guys, if you look at Apache Spark, it's a unified analytics engine for big data. So big data की दुनिया में आज Spark is like the champion. Okay. And unified analytics means you can do batch analytics also, real-time analytics also. It's a one-stop solution. You don't need to learn multiple technologies. If you learn Spark, you can do everything. Okay. And Spark provides you SQL. You don't need to learn Hive separately. It provides you machine learning. You don't need to learn Apache Mahavat or Mahout. It provides graph processing. So everything is there, like graphical data I was saying, right? NoSQL, Neo4j. So if you have some NoSQL database, you can process the data which is stored in a graph database. तो अगर ग्राफ डेटाबेस में कोई डेटा है उसको आप स्पार्क से प्रोसेस कर सकते हो. Okay, so let's see this. So this is Apache Spark. They are comparing. It runs workloads 100 times faster than Hadoop. So what they did on Hadoop and Spark, they ran a logistic regression model and compared the performance. So it took 110 seconds on Hadoop, but only 0.9 seconds on Spark. Okay. So you can see the drastic difference. They ran certain machine learning models, analytical models, and they saw the difference. Okay. It is a high performance for both batch and real-time data. Streaming data means real-time data. Okay. So this is the symbol for Spark. Okay. This was your Hadoop. This was like HBase, Cassandra, Mesos. Okay. Spark can run on Hadoop machines, and even Spark can run on machines without Hadoop. That's the power of Spark. अगर आपके पास Hadoop के virtual machines हैं, आप उस पे Spark इंस्टॉल कर सकते हो. बट नॉन Hadoop मशीन्स पे भी जिन पे ना HDFS हो, वहां पर भी हम Spark चला सकते हैं. तो it runs everywhere. So you don't need Hadoop to run Spark. Okay. Don't go into that. I am not talking about that. Okay. Spark runs on Hadoop. It can run without Hadoop also. It runs on Apache Mesos. I told you, right, Nitika, this Yarn, right? So Yarn and Mesos are like competitor. So if you have a machine which is running a cluster manager known as Mesos, you can run Spark there also. Okay. You can run Spark in cloud. You can run it standalone. Standalone means अकेला चल सकता है Spark. ना वहाँ Hadoop हो, ना Yarn हो, कुछ भी नहीं हो, तब भी चल सकता है. That's the beauty of Spark. You really don't need HDFS or anything like that. Okay. So we understood that Spark is very powerful, very fast. It can run with or without Hadoop. So Hadoop is really gone. Okay. So we can run Spark. Okay. Yeah, you guys can ask me anything from this place right now. Don't go here. Okay, Nishtha. Yeah. So Cassandra, Nishtha, is a NoSQL database. Like HBase is a NoSQL database. Cassandra is a NoSQL database. HBase was which type of database, Nishtha? NoSQL में मैंने 4 databases बताए थे. ये उनमें से किस टाइप का है HBase? No, it's column family. No, it's column family. It's not a key value pair. It's a column family, not a key value pair. So even Cassandra is also a column family NoSQL. Okay. Then there were key value, there were document oriented, and then there were graph. Yes. बट राहुल ये आपने एक नया ही बना दिया ऑब्जेक्ट, ये कौन सा है? व्हाट इज दिस ऑब्जेक्ट? ये कौन से डेटाबेसेस होते हैं? राहुल, व्हाट वर यू मतलब ट्राइंग टू से हियर? प्लीज हेल्प मी. ऑब्जेक्ट एज इन? नो 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 नो, नथिंग लाइक ऑब्जेक्ट बेस्ड. ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग होती है, क्लासेस बनती हैं, ऑब्जेक्ट्स बनता है, बट डेटाबेसेस में ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. ठीक है. बट राहुल, बिकॉज यू हैव टोल्ड अबाउट ऑब्जेक्ट, तो जावा की दुनिया में ऑब्जेक्ट बेस्ड डेटाबेसेस होते हैं. नो एसक्यूएल की दुनिया में नहीं, जावा की दुनिया में ऑब्जेक्ट बेस्ड डेटाबेसेस भी होते हैं. मतलब अगर आप में से कोई कुछ टर्म बोलता है तो आई जस्ट वांट टू मेक श्योर दैट इज वेरी क्लियर. देयर आर ऑब्जेक्ट डेटाबेसेस, राहुल. ओके. सो ऑब्जेक्ट डेटाबेसेस जैसी भी एक चीज होती है, बट वो जावा की दुनिया में है. जो लोग एडवांस जावा पे काम करते हैं, जब हम लोग एडवांस जावा में काम करते हैं तो हम ऑब्जेक्ट डेटाबेसेस की बात करते हैं. Object databases are different from the relational databases. Relational databases are table oriented, but object databases are really different. Okay. Here data is stored in the form of objects, like you do in object oriented programming. So object databases comes from the object oriented programming. Okay, Rahul. You can read about that, but वो big data से related नहीं है, Java से related है, advanced Java से. Okay. Let me go back. Okay, so Tanya or who was asking this? Nishtha. Okay, Nishtha was asking Mesos. Okay, so Mesos, yeah, Vipul, correct. So Mesos is a cluster manager like Yarn. Okay. Kubernetes. Okay, Kubernetes. I am not going into that, Gulzar. Kubernetes, but Kubernetes is something which is related to cloud. Okay. When we talk about cloud engineering, there are Dockers and Kubernetes. Okay, Gulzar. So to manage your clouds, you use Dockers and Kubernetes. So here is saying cloud, right? So if you want to run Spark in cloud, you need Dockers and Kubernetes. So you can read about it, Gulzar. I'll just tell you. Dockers and this you see Dockers and containers and Kubernetes. So you need to read about them separately. Dockers, Kubernetes. This is related to cloud computing. Okay. I'll give you a very brief here, Gulzar. What happens in the cloud is, say in the cloud you have one machine, you have two machines, you have three machines. So you have three machines in the cloud. Those three machines are known as nodes. It's like in big data also you have multiple machines, right? So these are your nodes. They are also known as pods, P-O-D-S, pods. They are also known as containers, Docker containers. Now, who will manage this cluster of Docker machines? So you need Kubernetes or you need Swarm. So Docker gives you Swarm, but if you don't want to use Swarm, there is Kubernetes that can manage the Docker containers or the machines. It is like जैसे ये आप देख रहे हो, ये क्या है? एक सेलर होता है. सेलर के पास ये होता है ना, जब सेलर कैसे नेविगेट करता है आपकी बोट को, तो एक तरह से सेलर जो बोट को नेविगेट करता है, ये वो सिंबल है. तो ये एक सेलर है, क्यूबरनेटिस एक सेलर है जो बहुत सारे कंटेनर्स अपने जहाज पे लेके जा रहा है। होते हैं ना बड़े बड़े जहाज पे बहुत सारे कंटेनर्स रखे होते हैं, ये जैसे दिख रहा है यहाँ पे। तो एक सेलर है जो बहुत सारे कंटेनर्स को मैनेज कर रहा है, which means there are a lot of machines being managed by the sailor or the captain of the ships. So that's what Kubernetes is. So if you have a cluster of multiple machines in cloud, you can manage it through Swarm or you can manage through Kubernetes. But ये उन लोगों के लिए है जो क्लाउड इंजीनियर बनना चाहते हैं। अंडरस्टैंड, डेटा इंजीनियर्स अलग हैं, क्लाउड इंजीनियर्स अलग हैं और डेटा साइंटिस्ट अलग हैं। ओके, यू डोंट नीड टू लर्न एवरीथिंग। So Gulzar, no, I am saying Kubernetes and Swarm are both the sailors. Either you use this or this to manage the Docker containers. So these are Docker containers. You can either manage them through Swarm or Kubernetes. Either, it's written, right? Mister, the helm, what is this, the helm? I didn't get it. Oh, okay, okay. Perfect, perfect. Okay. So now I hope this is clear. तो अभी हमने बात की कि भैया इसकी स्पीड बहुत ज़्यादा है, ये बैच प्रोसेसिंग, रियल टाइम प्रोसेसिंग सब कर सकता है, ये कहाँ कहाँ रन कर सकता है। Easy to use, it's very easy to use. You can use it through Java, Scala, Python. Okay, these are the three things. बाकी दो को छोड़ दो. So you can do everything using Java, Scala or Python. Okay. R you can only use for machine learning. R can only be used for machine learning, and SQL for only writing the SQL queries. But Java, Scala, Python, they can do everything. You can write programs to process files or doing anything. Like for example, you have a JSON file, you want to run some query on JSON file, you can do that. So we will talk about these syntaxes. Okay. But now comes the Spark ecosystem, which is this. Okay, like we were talking about Hadoop ecosystem, now there is a Spark ecosystem. Okay, so you should know what all you should, आपको क्या क्या सीखना है while you work a Spark. So first of all, you need to learn the Spark core. This is the core Spark. We will talk about core Spark. Here we will talk about something known as data frames. Very, very important. We will talk about something known as RDD. RDD. Aditi and Gomini, can you tell me the full form of RDD? Correct, Aditi. Gomini, Rahul, Jishan, at least 4 of you. Okay. So it's resilient distributed data set. Yes, Gomini, perfect. Correct. So Gulzar, I'm just asking a few of you who are aware about these things to some extent. So RDD, the full form of RDD. So RDD, you understand, Gulzar, is like a block. In HDFS, you were having like files which were stored in blocks. So here we tell that everything is RDD. We will talk about that in detail. So you can understand the storage unit in Spark is RDD. Block, not block. So RDD, And then there are advancements which were done in RDD in the form of data frames. So we don't use RDD any longer, we use data frames, but we should be aware about these things. We will talk about them. Like when you want to store the files, you want to store them as RDDs, you want to process them using data frames. There are a lot of keywords. So when we learn Apache Spark, this is the core Spark. Here we will learn RDD. Remember, core Spark is nothing but learning about RDDs. Okay. Okay. So when we learn about the Apache Spark, the core part of it, we will learn about RDDs, what are RDDs, how to process them, how to create them. But now a lot of advancements are done in the Spark, and these four things came on top of it. So we will learn Spark SQL, which is an alternative for Hive. We will learn Spark streaming. Well, we will not learn everything, but I'm telling you. We will be learning here Apache Spark and Apache Spark SQL only. These two things, the core Spark and the Spark SQL. So in the Spark SQL, it's just a replacement of Hive, where we will talk about data frames. So when we will learn core, we will learn RDDs, how to create and handle RDDs. When we will learn Spark SQL, we will talk about data frames. And one more thing, data sets. So we will talk about data frames and data sets. Okay. But other than that, there is Spark streaming. Spark streaming is for real-time data. For example, you have a Facebook or a Twitter, you are getting real-time data, and within seconds you want to keep them processing. So that's Spark streaming. Within seconds you want to process, you need Spark streaming. Okay. MLlib. MLlib is machine learning library. MLlib, machine learning library. If you want to do machine learning on Apache Spark, you have to learn this. It's like in Hadoop, you have Apache Mahavat, for which you have to write Java programs. Here we have MLlib to do machine learning on Apache Spark. You can write this MLlib programs using Python, Java, Scala, anything. Okay. And then we have graphics. For example, if you have the data which is stored in the graphical database like Neo4j or Titan, you can read that data and process it using graphics. In Hadoop, ग्राफिक्स का कॉम्पिटिटर कौन सा होता है? एनीवन नो? जैसे हडूप में MLlib की जगह महावत है, स्पार्क सीक्वल की जगह हाइव है, स्पार्क स्ट्रीमिंग की जगह वहां पे स्टॉर्म है, स्टॉर्म, अपाचे स्टॉर्म. इसकी जगह क्या है वहां पे? एनीवन? जस्ट गूगल इट एंड टेल मी. फॉर ग्राफ प्रोसेसिंग हडूप में कौन सा कंपोनेंट होता है? प्लीज गूगल इट एंड टेल मी. ग्राफ प्रोसेसिंग के लिए कौन सा कंपोनेंट होता है? गूगल इट. तुक्के मत मारो, गूगल करो। अभी तक सबका गलत आंसर है, सबका गलत आंसर है अभी तक। गाइस गूगल करना आना चाहिए आप लोगों को, मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा। व्हाट आर यू गूगलिंग? वेरी गुड विपुल, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट, इट्स जिराफ। The most well-known application from graph databases is Google's PageRank algorithm, which calculates the linking relationship between all the known web pages. So Google was the first one to give a detailed white paper on the graph analysis. Hey, what is this? क्या आ गया? कुछ भी आ जाता है। See here, Facebook made a significant splash in 2017 when it announced that it was using the Apache Giraffe based on the Praggle paper, a graph processing engine designed to process the graphs stored in the HDFS. It showed the power of Giraffe by showing off a graph representing all of the Facebook users. Okay, so Google had a white paper known as Praggle or Praggle, whatever how you pronounce, and from that came the graphics. Okay. So if you look here, Spark SQL replaces what? Hive SQL. Spark MLlib replaces what? Apache Mahavut. Okay. Spark streaming replaces what? This thing, the storm. Okay. इनमें से कहीं पे भी जिराफ दिखा नहीं रखा, which is not a good thing. Okay, जिराफ हटा ही दिया है लोगों ने. So this is what Giraffe is. It's a large-scale graph processing infrastructure on Hadoop. Okay. But Giraffe, or rather Apache Giraffe, which is this thing, it is replaced by graphics. So I'm pinging you this link. Okay. So Apache Giraffe is an interactive graph processing system built on for high scalability. It is currently used as Facebook to analyze social graph. Because I told you what is graph data. LinkedIn, Facebook, they all have graph data. And Giraffe originated from the open source counterpart known as Praggle, a graph processing architecture developed by the Google in 2010. Okay, so Praggle is the white paper, which was used by the Facebook to develop the Apache Giraffe. Okay. Coming back here. So in interview, if someone asks you the counterpart for each one of this, you should know. Like Apache Spark replaces MapReduce, Spark SQL replaces Hive, Spark Streaming replaces Storm, this replaces Mahavut, and this replaces Giraffe. So the good thing now is you only need to learn Spark and you can do everything very easily. Your learning curve is simple. But earlier when it was Hadoop, when you were learning Hadoop, you have to learn the components separately. The problem with Hadoop was there was too many components like pig, scoop, all those components were independent in some sense, so you have to learn a lot of things. Even you don't need scoop here in Spark because Spark is powerful enough to read data from the RDBMS and bring it in its environment. So you don't need scoop even to read the data. You can use Spark to read the data from RDBMS. So you don't need to learn multiple tools. Learn only Spark and just keep exploring these libraries and you are done. These are just libraries. These are not separate tools. Okay. So you learn Spark and after that you just learn additional libraries to work. Whether it's SQLs and data frames. I told you, right? Here it's RDD, here it's data frames. MLlib for machine learning, GraphX, Spark streaming, anything. Okay. Any questions so far? Guys, any questions so far before we dive into the Spark architecture? Perfect. So now what we will do, we will see Spark architecture. So always I follow this, first look at the ecosystem components and then go in the architecture. Okay. So whenever you learn a new technology, don't directly jump in the architecture. Okay. So now we have a well-defined architecture that we are going to understand. Apache Spark architecture is based on two main components, main abstractions. So we will talk about these RDDs, resilient distributed datasets, and certain other things. Very simple, very easy architecture, nothing to do. Just 2 minutes it will take. You have a master and you have slaves. That's it. Okay. So whenever you are running a Spark program, that comes to the master and master asks the slaves to work. It's like master slave architecture, or you can say you had the name node and the data nodes, right? So you have a driver and worker. That's it. So what we say is you have a driver or the master and you have the slaves or the worker nodes, which are data nodes. So these are the data nodes and this is the name node. Simple. So whenever you submit a program, that goes to the driver, okay, and driver then talks to the cluster manager, which is Yarn, to ask like which of the workers is currently free so that I can ask them to do my work. So you submit a program, it goes to the driver talks to the Yarn, and then Yarn submit or run that program on the worker nodes. Simple. Okay. Once the worker nodes are done with their work, they directly talk to the driver. They don't really need to talk to the cluster manager. They directly can talk to the driver. But within the worker, there is this thing which is quite important. Within the worker nodes or the data nodes, there are executors, and within executors, we run the tasks. So tasks like you have map task and reduce task. Here we don't have like map task, reduce task. Everything is task. Whether it needs to do mapper, reducer, whatever. We don't have mappers, reducers, anything like that separately. So we have everything is a task, and task runs inside executors. And because Spark is very fast, it uses memory, lot of memory. So अगर मैप रिड्यूस को एक मशीन पे चलाना है, मान लो वो आप 4 GB पे भी चला सकते हो, 4 GB की रैम पे भी चल सकता है. बट स्पार्क के लिए आई एम जस्ट throwing the terms, it's not exactly, you need 40 GB RAM for example. That means जिन मशीन पे आपको स्पार्क चलाना है वहां पे रैम बहुत ज्यादा होना चाहिए. आई थिंक 16 GB तो मिनिमम है, 16 GB से ज्यादा ही होना चाहिए. तो इससे सीधा सीधा पता लगता है कि आपके वर्कर नोड्स या वो मशीन्स जिन पे स्पार्क चलाने हैं, दे विल बी वेरी कॉस्टली बिकॉज यू नीड ह्यूज रैम. ओके, सो रनिंग स्पार्क कम्स विद अ कॉस्ट. वरना आप सोचो कि हर कंपनी क्यों नहीं सारा काम स्पार्क पे कर लेती, बिकॉज स्पार्क इज कॉस्टली. स्पार्क कम्स विद अ कॉस्ट. You need too much RAM on each machine because Spark avoids writing data in disks. Like MapReduce में क्या हो रहा था? Mappers were writing to disks and reducers were reading from disk. So they avoid this disks read and write. Rather, they prefer storing the data in cache. So you see this cache? So a lot of cache usage is here. So you need a lot of memory, lot of RAM. Okay. Any question? I'm saying minimum 16 GB per node, minimum 16 GB per worker node. But it further depends upon the volume of the data that you want to process, Gulzar. मान लो आप स्पार्क चला रहे हो 1 टेराबाइट डेटा पे, मैं चला रहा हूँ 100 टेराबाइट पे, तो डेफिनेटली आई नीड मोर रैम. तो दीज आर ऑल रिलेटिव थिंग्स. ऐसा नहीं है कि स्पार्क के लिए मुझे 40 GB रैम चाहिए ही चाहिए, बट मिनिमम 16 GB चाहिए. अब उसके ऊपर जितना ज्यादा आपका डेटा प्रोसेसिंग नीड है, आपको उतना ज्यादा रैम चाहिए. ओके. और ऐसा नहीं है कि एक वर्कर नोड में एक ही एग्जीक्यूटर चलता है. एक वर्कर नोड में मल्टीपल एग्जीक्यूटर्स चल सकते हैं. हर किसी को अपना अपना कैशे चाहिए. तो यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट इवन 16 GB भी कम पड़ जाता है और आउट ऑफ मेमोरी एरर आने शुरू हो जाता है. ओके गाइस, एनी फर्दर क्वेश्चन? So if you look at this architecture, you have Spark core, which is nothing but RDDs. Then we will talk about Spark SQL using data frames and data sets. Okay. Then we are also having Spark MLlib, Spark streaming, and graphics. These are all libraries. These are libraries, not the tools. You can use Spark SQL, you can use Java, Python, Scala, and R, Spark R, the languages. Spark is very powerful. It can run either on Hadoop with Yarn. It can run standalone. It can run on Mesos. It can run on Amazon Cloud. It can run anywhere, like where you can run it. Okay. Spark can read data from HDFS, HBase, Hive, Cassandra, Tachyon. The more you learn, there are a lot of data sources. Okay. Any NoSQL database you can. Okay. So Spark is very, very powerful and the go-to place. Okay. So this is not architecture, guys. This is wrong. This is the ecosystem. Okay. This is the architecture. Yes, Nishta, absolutely. Very good question, Rahul. Uh, okay. So definitely, because I told you that Spark is a standalone, right? I told you that Spark can run standalone. So that means yes, Rahul, you can run it on a plain Linux machine, on a simple Linux machine, or even a Windows machine also. So you can run it on your local laptops also. You don't need Hadoop, but you have to do some setup. It will take half an hour, but you can do that setup. There are links available on Google to set up it on your local Linux or Windows without Hadoop. That's the power of Spark. Okay, so you can do that, Rahul. Even you can use Eclipse to write Spark programs and run it on your local machine. You can do that. You can just use Eclipse to run your Java or Scala programs if you want Java Scala programs, not Python. Okay, so Eclipse itself is enough to run Spark on your local, but you have to do some setting in Eclipse. Okay, so because of this standalone thing. Anyone, any question? Okay, so now we are good to start with the hands-on. Okay, but before that hands-on, let's see what is the future. As in, Spark is also going away. Okay, so अभी अगले 4-5 साल तो कहीं नहीं जा रहा है, but who is coming and replacing it? You should know the future. So Spark अभी अगले 4-5 साल कहीं नहीं जा रहा. Why? Because this company. तो Databricks, as I told you, पूरी कंपनी खड़ी कर दी गई है एक चीज के अराउंड, तो वो कहीं नहीं जाने वाला. तो Databricks, a very famous company, one of the dream company in the field of big data developers. They talk about data warehouse, they talk about data lake, they're doing everything. They're doing machine learning. Okay, they are doing everything. They are doing SQL, data engineering, graph processing, machine learning, everything. They have also given a recent concept of Delta Lake. You guys can read it. I am sharing the link, not going into that. So in their recent conference, every year Databricks holds a conference. I am forgetting the name of that conference. In the recent one, they introduced the Delta Lake. Spark people, they introduced Delta Lake. And you can run it on AWS, Azure, GCP, anywhere on the cloud platform. Okay. So you can read about a lot of interesting technologies which are given by Databricks, including Delta Lake, ML Flow. It is machine learning flow. ML Flow, Redash. They haven't given TensorFlow. ये तो Google ने दिया है, but they are working with TensorFlow. Koalas is very interesting thing. You can read about this. Okay, but major is Spark. Their bread and butter is Spark. Okay. So Koalas is a pandas API for Spark. होता क्या था मैं बताता हूँ. Apache Spark पे जब हम काम करेंगे, हम Python से ही काम करेंगे, right? But Apache Spark does not support, मतलब Apache Spark's Python does not support pandas. And you understand that pandas के बिना काम करना for a Python developer is not that easy. So there was a project that was undertook known as Koalas, which solved this problem. Okay. So they have provided the panda support in Python with Spark. Okay, with the Koalas project. It was a very long waited project which finally was completed. Okay. Okay. So that was about the Spark, उसकी पूरी कहानी कहाँ से शुरू हुआ, कहाँ तक ये पहुंचा, किस कंपनी में. But now, yes,
Excuse me, sir.
एक मिनट. Yeah. I'll come to that, Karan. 1 minute. So Mate Zaharia, very famous person in big data world. He is the chairperson of multiple companies and part of board of directors. Mate Zaharia, he was the one who actually invented, or you say worked on this particular thing, Apache Spark, as an open source component, and then later they opened this company which is Databricks. So he is one of the co-founders of that company. Okay, he's associated with the Databricks. Okay, Databricks company. Mate Zaharia. These are all PhD researchers. And he selected Scala as the language instead of Java. And Scala was given by this guy, Martin Ordesky. Again, very famous person in the field of computer science. Uh, again, the board of directors of multiple companies. These people are leading the data engineering and data science in today's world. Martin Ordesky, who gave this Scala programming language. Okay. There is a interesting story behind his days of developing this Scala language, but not going into that right now. Okay. Okay. Perfect. So I told you about Mate Zaharia and Martin Ordesky. आपको लगेगा कई बार कि ये चीजें मैं क्यों बता रहा हूँ, but really these things are important. When you see these people delivering lectures, live lectures, you can relate to it. So Databricks every year holds the conference. Yeah. So that's known as a Spark AI Summit. It happened in June 20 to 23rd. There are YouTube recordings available. Go through them, because nowadays every company is trying to make their platform ready for AI. So you can go through those YouTube links to see how Apache Spark is revolutionizing the AI field or the machine learning field. So their summit name is, I think, Data plus AI Summit. Yeah, formerly that needs to known as Spark plus AI Summit. Now it's Data plus AI. Earlier it was Spark plus AI Summit. Okay. So before I tell you the competitors of Spark, Gulzar, you were saying something. Gulzar? Gulzar, am I audible? So
यस सर, अभी क्लियर।
हाँ, बोलिए बोलिए।
यस सर, अभी तो क्लियर है, पर आपने वो डाटा ब्रिक्स की साइट ओपन करते वक्त आपने जो बताया था उस वक्त ऑडिबिलिटी इशू हो रहा था, तब कोई बार।
नहीं नहीं, मैंने ऐसा कुछ नहीं बताया था जो मैंने अभी तक नहीं बताया। मैं बस यही बोल रहा था कि दिस इज द कंपनी, लाइक डेटाब्रिक्स इज द कंपनी विच इज वर्किंग टू मच इन द फील्ड ऑफ स्पार्क, एंड स्पार्क इज नॉट गोइंग अवे। मतलब स्पार्क कहीं नहीं जा रहा, स्पार्क इज स्टिल देयर, एंड यू कैन वॉच दिस 125 सेशंस, YouTube sessions. Here is the link, so you can read them from here. Okay, so you can have all these videos, you can go through them. uh, ML ops, like what is ML ops? This is known as machine learning operations, ML tools. So there are a lot of things you can go through them. These are very interesting. Okay. Uh, so that's what Gulzar. Okay. तो मैं बस यही कह रहा था. Okay. Now the competitors of Apache Spark. So the very first competitor is Apache Flink. So few of the companies have already replaced Spark with Flink, but it's not yet that clear, बिकॉज फ्लिंक से में प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अभी उसका सपोर्ट इतना नहीं है. स्पार्क में आप सब कुछ कर सकते हो, मतलब यू हैव द रिसोर्सेज अवेलेबल टू स्टडी, टू डू द कोडिंग, बट फॉर अपाचे स्प्लिंक यू हैव लिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज. ओके, अपाचे स्प्लिंक इज something that is trying to replace Spark. It is also having the same features or similar features, like it can also run on Kubernetes, K8 मतलब Kubernetes, Yarn, Mesos. Okay, it can read from HDFS, Amazon S3, NFS, anywhere. So it has a similar architecture. I'm just sharing the link. So Apache Flink. I have certain codes around it on my GitHub account. In case anyone wants, they can see that. But we are not going to do Flink here. So if you look at the ecosystem for Apache Flink, it looks very similar. It's very similar. You have the core, the Flink core. On top of it, you have for batch processing, they have given data sets. For stream processing, they have given data streams. तो बस उन्होंने ये चीजें बहुत ही क्लियर कर दी हैं. So Flink have batch processing APIs as separate and stream APIs as separate. On top of it, they give you this table thing, which is for SQL, like Spark SQL. You have Flink SQL. You have Flink ML, like you have Spark ML lib, right? Spark machine learning, you have Flink machine learning. Jelly, I think that's for the graph processing. Jelly. Yeah, that's for the graph processing, the Flink graph API. Okay. Jelly. So ultimately, everything is same, just fancy names are getting changed, and internally, yeah, definitely Flink is more powerful than Spark, but still it will take time for people to adopt it. Okay. So they have given SQL, they have given you ML and graph, and Spark streaming की तरह they have given you Flink streaming, which is this Flink streaming. Okay. Okay. So I'm moving into the next thing. What is this? ये अपाचे जेपलिन एक बड़ी ही इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है। जैसे जुपिटर नोटबुक्स होती हैं, ये जुपिटर नोटबुक्स से फार बेटर है। ओके, जुपिटर नोटबुक से फार फार बेटर होती हैं जेपलिन, बट इतनी यूज नहीं होती। ठीक है। नो मैंने एक्सप्लेन तो कुछ किया ही नहीं है गुलजार, मैं बस बोल रहा हूँ कि ये सब है, मतलब स्ट्रीमिंग भी है, सब कुछ है यहाँ पे। You have Jelly, Flink ML, SQL component, and you have streaming component. This is the streaming component. Yeah, Nishta, Zeppelin can run anything. Let me show you. So this is the Zeppelin's website, okay? बात प्रॉब्लम बस इतनी है कि इतना कुछ है बताने को, देयर इज नो एंड। तो जुपिटर नोटबुक से भी एडवांस है अपाचे जेपलिन, और एक तरह से कह सकते हैं कि जुपिटर नोटबुक के ऊपर ही बनी है ये, इनका बेस जुपिटर नोटबुक ही है, अपाचे जेपलिन। अब अपाचे जेपलिन पे आपको क्या करना है? आपको पाइथन करना है, तो इट्स लाइक जुपिटर नोटबुक, बट you can run SQL also here. You can run Spark also here. Zeppelin supports Spark, PySpark, SparkR, Spark SQL, everything. And you can use it now. See, use now. You can see Spark for Zeppelin. There's a direct link. So if you see, these are the notebooks, okay? You can do everything here. अगर आपको अभी इमीडिएटली जेपलिन पे हैंड्स ऑन करना है, तो दिस इज द लिंक. There is an online Zeppelin notebook. You can immediately do the hands-on. The best way to share the Apache Zeppelin Jupyter notebooks, this is the link. You can do your hands-on right now, right away. For example, let's see this. These are all which are available. Let me show you this one. So there are already notebooks available which you can open and do the hands-on. तो आपको पहले लॉगिन करना पड़ेगा इसके ऊपर, and then you can do that. Okay, so I'm not going into that right now, but yeah, so Apache Zeppelin is quite interesting. You can check that. So Zeppelin can support not only Python, but underlying it can run Spark also. Okay. So I was telling you the competitor Flink was one. The another one is Apache Apex. दिस इज रियली वेरी वेरी न्यू। तो ये अभी बहुत ही पीछे है, ये जो गोरिल्ला सा दिख रहा है ये अभी इट विल टेक टू मच टाइम। एपेक्स इज एंटरप्राइज ग्रेड नेटिव यार्न बिग डेटा इन मोशन प्लेटफॉर्म। तो अल्टीमेटली देखो हो क्या रहा है कि अभी हमें ऐसे प्लेटफॉर्म चाहिए जो यूनिफाइड हो, मतलब जिन पे हम बैच प्रोसेसिंग के साथ साथ स्ट्रीम प्रोसेसिंग भी फास्टर कर पाए। तो स्पार्क, फ्लिंक, एपेक्स ये सब उसी चीज को दिमाग में लेते हुए चल रहे हैं कि स्ट्रीम प्रोसेसिंग को बेटर से बेटर किया जाए, रियल टाइम प्रोसेसिंग को। ओके भाई, दिस प्रोजेक्ट हैज रिटायर्ड। ओके, even before making it to the real world, it has retired. Okay. Because it's not easy to replace Spark and now Flink is there, right? तो उन्हें लगा होगा कि इस प्रोजेक्ट को आगे कैरी करने में कुछ पॉइंट नहीं है। This Malhar is also something famous. अपाचे एपेक्स का रियल टाइम प्रोसेसिंग कंपोनेंट है मल्हार। ओके, लीव इट। तो बस यही तीन थे स्पार्क को जिनसे कंपटीशन है, फ्लिंक एंड एपेक्स। एपेक्स तो ऑलरेडी अब we saw that retired, so Flink is the only thing which is available in the market now. There is one more which is Apache Beam, okay, which is not that famous right now, but that's also there for batch and streaming data processing. Okay. Okay, guys, any questions so far? So we are going back to Spark, but yeah, the competitors were Flink, Beam, and Apex. So Flink is the only one which has survived, okay, so far in competition to Spark. The world of computer engineering is very dynamic. Even the programming languages keep changing, right? I don't know if you guys know, but Julia has giving a tough competition to Python for data science. Okay, Julia for machine learning. It may so happen that Julia can replace Python. Okay. Similarly, Go language is giving tough competition to Java. So Go can replace like Java. Go was given by Google. Go or Golang is new, supports concurrency, more readable, and is not object oriented. Okay, so that's what, guys. So things will keep changing. That I don't know, Vipul. But yeah, there are a lot of things. Okay, so before we go into the hands-on, then what's point in investing in the high courses? These are debatable things, but as I say, knowledge is always needed. Machines can learn what you ask them to do. हाँ, हो सकता है आप में से कुछ लोग ही इन चीजों पे काम करो आगे, building the high-end bots and machines. You guys must have heard about Sophia, right? Sophia, guys, you heard about Sophia, the robot? Good. Yeah, this one, right? Yes, Vipul. Yeah, that's what. Okay, guys. So what we will do now, we will take a break for 15 minutes, and when we are back, we will start with the coding. Okay. So let's connect at around 11:50. Uh, so where we will be talking about Spark, hands-on. Okay. Any question? Okay. Let's connect at 11:50, guys. Okay, guys, I am back. So please let me know if all of you have started your machines. Just logging to your virtual machine and open the terminal. Okay. So if you can see my screen, I have opened the virtual machine and now I am going to start the terminal. So now what we need to do is we need to work on Spark. Guys, please let me know if I'm audible. Screen visible. Okay, okay. Okay. So now we have to start working on this Spark. So if you are on this machine, so you need to type Spark hyphen shell. So just type in Spark hyphen shell and you will be inside the Spark. Okay guys, so let me know आप लोगों का Spark अगर start हो गया है. So what we are using here is the Apache Spark. We are not using the Databricks Spark.
उसमें सर
बोलो.
सर सर एक्चुअली जो पहले बड़े दिन से मेरा क्लाउडरा जैम था, तो स्टेप्स तो एक स्टेप्स फिर से कंफर्म करने होंगे। मतलब ये क्विक स्टार्ट का क्लाउडरा मैंने खोलिया, अभी क्विक स्टार्ट अभी
बोलो, गो है.
मतलब ये क्विक स्टार्ट को कैसे एक्सेस करना है एक बार यही।
हाँ हाँ, ये आप बस ये ब्लैक जो टर्मिनल है, ये विंडो, इसको क्लिक करना है ना, ये ब्लैक बटन जो है इसको क्लिक करो. इट विल बी ओपन. ताने आपने क्या टाइप किया है, जरा पिंग कीजिए. स्पार्क हाइफन शेल, वो एक ही वर्ड होना चाहिए. आपने कोई स्पेस स्पेस दे दिया क्या दोनों के बीच में? स्पार्क हाइफन शेल एक ही वर्ड होना चाहिए, कोई स्पेस नहीं होना चाहिए इनके बीच में. मैं वेट कर रहा हूँ, आप लोग जब कर लें मुझे बता दें, जब आप लोगों के सिस्टम पे ये स्पार्क ओपन हो जाए, डू लेट मी नो। गुलजार आपको बस इतना लिखना है, स्पार्क हाइफन शेल। Yeah, Vipul, perfect. That's what. Okay, guys, perfect. So I'm getting started. So if you look at, like, we type in the Spark Shell command. Spark Shell command brings it inside the Spark. Here you will see the Spark version 1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.6, whatever you will have. That is Spark 1.x version. बट अभी हम स्पार्क 2.0 पे काम करते हैं, लेटेस्ट वर्जन स्पार्क 2.0 है। आप 1.x पे काम कर रहे हैं, लाइक 1.6, अभी 2.2 भी आ चुका है मार्केट में। देयर आर सर्टेन डिफरेंसेस बिटवीन स्पार्क 1 एंड स्पार्क 2। ओके, so not much differences. So we are working on spark 1. Here if you see Scala version is 2.10, which is quite good. The later one only 2.11, 2.12 भी आ चुका है, but this is good enough. So we have Scala version also, and you will see that Scala along with it showing the Java, because I told you it's a JVM. Scala is also JVM based language, so it also works on JVM. So we have started Spark. We know that it's running Scala and Java support, but we saw the architecture that Spark needs a driver, right? Spark, में there is a driver known as a Spark driver. So Spark driver नहीं होगा तो काम ही नहीं होगा. All your programs are controlled by Spark driver. Spark driver cannot work alone. It needs something known as Spark context. So this line is very important. I am again saying very important. Spark driver cannot work alone. It needs something known as Spark context. We have given an alias as SC for Spark context. Okay. This Spark context will help you to run programs on the worker nodes or the data nodes. I also told you that using Spark, you can connect to Hive, means Spark SQL. So you'll see that there is a SQL context also, which is having the Hive support. Okay. So SQL context is having this alias. So ultimately, whenever we will work with Spark, there are two contexts. Contexts are like variables, Spark context and SQL context. Spark context is like SC. It is like when you import pandas, you say import pandas as PD. तो फिर आप pd.read csv इस तरह से करते हो ना हमेशा. तो एक तरह से ये वही है. You have created a Spark context with an alias sc, so that if I have to read a file, I will say okay sc dot read file and give the path of the file. Getting it, guys, so far? What is sc? What is SQL context? Now, for example, you have to run a query in Hive. So you have this SQL context, right? So you will say SQL context dot SQL, and inside you will say okay, select star from EMP. That's it. हो गया आपका स्पार्क. मतलब समझ रहे हो? सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट बात है, सबसे पहले एक फाउंडेशन समझना किसी भी चीज की. तो हमारी फाउंडेशन यहाँ दो चीजें हैं, स्पार्क कॉन्टेक्स्ट एंड सीक्वल कॉन्टेक्स्ट. स्पार्क कॉन्टेक्स्ट is what you will use for Spark core. For RDD, I told you, right? There is a Spark context. I told you हम Spark core पहले सीखेंगे जिसमें RDDs बनेंगे, फिर हम Spark SQL सीखेंगे जिसमें डेटा फ्रेम्स बनेंगे. तो स्पार्क कोर पे अगर आपको काम करना है तो ये हमें एलियास यूज करना है, sc.read file for example, and when you read the file, the content of this file will go inside a variable, say xyz. So here xyz is what? It's an RDD. It's a RDD which contains the data of that file, whichever file you will put here, whichever HDFS file you will put here, the path of the file. Okay. So here XYZ is a RDD because this is Spark core. Guys, remember this, very important. I told you there is a Spark core. On top of it, there was Spark SQL, there was Spark streaming, there was Spark ML. So Spark core is done with SC variable, which is Spark context, and Spark SQL is with that SQL context object. So this will create RDD. Here we will create data frames. Okay. So you are clear with SC. But अगर मैं XYZ is equal to SQL context dot SQL लिख दूं और इसमें मैं लिख दूं मान लो select star from a table EMP. So in this case XYZ will be what, guys? RDD or a data frame? Very good, Tanya. Very good, very good. Yeah, Vipul. So we have to be very clear that Spark context and SQL context are the foundation. This is Spark for Spark core. मतलब यहाँ SC का मतलब ये Spark core नहीं है. SC मतलब है Spark context, which is to work on the core Spark, the foundation of Spark, where we get RDDs, and here we get data frames. We will talk about what is RDD, what is data frame, दोनों में फर्क क्या है. अभी के लिए ऐसा समझो, a data frame is like a table. It is like a table which is having header, like schema and columns, rows, whereas an RDD it's like a file, the content inside a file. You may or may not have a schema for an RDD. Okay, but data frames will always have a schema because a data frame is like a table. So table should always have a schema. Okay, very good. So we are clear with this. Let's start.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
एक्चुअली क्लाउड era जो मेरा हाथ से ही चलना स्टार्ट हो पाया, तो कमांड जो आपने दिया था वो तो लिख दिया, क्वेरी एग्जीक्यूट करने का जो कमांड है।
नहीं, अभी तक हमने कोई क्वेरी एग्जीक्यूट नहीं किया। आप इसके अंदर आ चुके हो, यहाँ पे पहुंच चुके हो इस काला में?
नहीं सर, मैंने सर वो स्पार्क शेल लिखने के बाद कौन सा कमांड देना था?
नहीं, इसके बाद तो एंटर ही टाइप करना है ना आपको।
सर एंटर टाइप करने से कुछ नहीं आ रहा आगे वो।
तो चल रहा होगा अभी।
पर अभी रुका पड़ा है कोई।
हाँ, तो वो अभी चल रहा है। वेट वेट, थोड़ा स्लो है आपका मशीन।
सर उसमें कोई लाइन भी, कोई नेक्स्ट लाइन ही नहीं आ रही उसमें तो एंटर करके।
कोई नहीं, वेट वेट, जस्ट वेट।
ओके सर।
Or else you open another terminal like window and type there Spark Shell and again start it.
अच्छा, मतलब ये इसको एग्जिट करके दोबारा?
एग्जिट नहीं करना, उसे चलने दो, एक और टर्मिनल खोलो, उस टर्मिनल में दोबारा से स्टार्ट कर दो।
ठीक है सर।
Okay. So you will see it's also starting certain executors like the executor, as I told you, within the worker nodes there will be executors, and the port for Spark is 4040. Okay. Now we are inside the Scala shell. Okay. So here guys we can do the Scala programming, Spark with Scala. And we can also do the Java coding here because Scala also supports Java. So here we can do mix, half Java, half Scala also. Okay, we can, no, it does not support Python, Nitika. We will talk about Python later. Currently, this Spark shell or the Scala shell is only for Java and Python Java and Scala programmers. This is not for Python programmers. Okay, Nitika? There is a separate thing for that we will do. But let's see Scala or Java if you have to do. So say you create a variable int x equals to 2. Normally this is how you do it, right? So it's throwing me an error like int x is equal to 2 because Scala, this is a Scala shell and the syntaxes are a bit different. So if I have to create a variable x, so guys see this, we have to do Scala programming here. It supports some features of Java, not everything, limited features of Java, but it is like we have to do Scala programming. So Java में हम variable बनाते थे int x is equal to 2, but here it's saying it does not understand what int is. So here the variables are created like where x equals to 2. See, Scala is a functional programming language, one thing. Second is, in Scala, you don't need to declare the data type. You just create a variable, where means variable name is x, and give it a value 2. So you created a variable x with value 2, and by looking at the value, Scala will tell you that it's an integer. You cannot do it like Java, int x equal to 2. Okay? But you can reassign it a value like x equals to, say, true. So I'm saying I'm giving it a value true, and it's like a boolean required int एक second, x equal to 33. So I'll tell you about this. So I created a variable x with value 2. It tell okay, this is an integer. I can change its value. See, I'm able to change its value. Okay. So now what's happening is I can change the value of x. I started with 2, I'm giving it 33, then I'm giving it a character. Here single quotes is for character and double quotes is for string. So when I'm giving it a character, it's giving me the value 83. Can anyone tell me why 83? Do anyone know this? I gave it a value of s, it gave me 83. Why? Anyone, any idea? Anyone? Oh, very good, very good. Yeah, Gomini, yes, Nitika. So guys, uh, uh, sometimes if you have a character, but the variable shows a numerical value, that means it is showing you the ASCII value for that. So here is the ASCII table. Let me just open it. You can check what's the ASCII value for capital S. For each alphabet, there is a corresponding numerical value known as ASCII value, something American standards for coding, something like that. It's a bit slow. Guys, please check and let me know the ASCII value of the capital S. Is it 83? Perfect, perfect. थोड़ा वो स्क्रीन हैंग हो गया है, but that's fine. Okay, so this is what Scala is like. You can create a variable and then you can change its value, but you cannot assign it any random value. You can assign a number, you can assign a character, but for character it is taking the ASCII value. Okay. So in Scala we have something known as var, but there is another way of declaring a variable known as val. Let's see that. Just a second. So there are two variables, two ways of declaring variables, guys. Var and val. We have var and then we will create val. So it's a bit of a hang, so I'll wait. Yeah, Gulzar, tell me. आपका भी वो ओपन नहीं हुआ क्या गुलजार? So Gulzar, I am saying I am trying to assign a variable with a character value. So characters have the ASCII value. You can Google it. For each character or alphabet, there is a defined ASCII value. Means I cannot से दैट आज ही 83 है, कल वो 84 हो जाएगा, नहीं, ये हमेशा 83 रहेगा. कैपिटल S इज ऑलवेज 83 एज इट्स ASCII वैल्यू. ओके. हाँ. नाउ I don't know why it's happened.
सर 1 मिनट.
हाँ बोल सर.
सर इसमें तो यही नहीं क्लियर हो रहा किसके लिए गूगल को करना है. इसमें एस की का सर्च करना है.
हाँ, just search the ASCII values, ASCII table, you will get it.
ओके सर.
Guys, अभी मेरा स्क्रीन थोड़ा हैंग्ड है. I'll tell you what to do. I am pinging you the query. Now create another variable val y equals to say 88 like this, and now try to change the value for y. Give anything and tell me, is it working? Like when you create a variable with var, you can change its value. But when you create it with val, can you change its value or not? Tell me. And ping me the error that you get. So this is Scala programming that we are doing, okay? Scala. Very good, Tanya. A reassignment to val, right? So what that mean, Tanya? What does that mean? गुलजार, मैंने आपको पिंग कर दिया है. जो आपको गूगल करना है मैंने पिंग कर दिया है, ठीक है? हेलो. या नमस्कार. या राहुल जी. Okay, guys. Yeah, sorry, I got a call. Okay, so yeah, absolutely. So what I mean to say, in Scala, when we have to create a variable, there are two ways: var and val. Var is where you can reassign the value to the variable, either a number or a string, whatever. But when you create a variable with val as a keyword, that means it's final. in Java, आप में से जिन लोगों को Java आता होगा, there is a concept of like final. If I say final int x equals to 2, so if I do this in Java, for example, if I create a variable with final, I cannot change its value because it's final. Okay, that's final. Same case in Scala is done like this. So you cannot change this value. This concept is known as immutability. Guys, this is known as immutability. Very, very important concept, or it's one of the most important concept of Scala and Spark. Okay, immutability. Okay, one of the most important concept. First of all, you got it right. Immutable is a variable which cannot change. मतलब you cannot change the value of a variable. एक बार assign हो गई. You cannot change it. That's immutability. Is it clear? Okay. So now the point is, you here this x variable, I can say that if it's a Scala, x is a variable. Okay. But if it's Spark, like if Scala is used with Spark, I'll say here x is a RDD. I can say that x is a RDD. Okay. So that means if x is a variable, or rather it's a variable of the type val, if x is of the type val, then only I can say that it's a RDD. Otherwise, it's not a RDD. So the immutable variables, or rather the immutable objects, are RDDs. So if I say var x, I cannot say it's a RDD, but if it's a val x, then in Spark we say it's a RDD. तो RDD Spark की दुनिया में है, Scala की दुनिया में RDD जैसा कुछ नहीं है. RDD is just a concept in Spark. So a variable which cannot be changed is an RDD. Okay. So if you have to create an RDD in Scala, you will say val x. If you have to create an RDD in Java, you will say final int x. Getting it? Guys? Okay, absolutely, Tanya. I am saying in Java, if I say int x, I can change the value of x. But if I say, okay, final int x, I cannot change its value. So it's immutable. In Scala, if I say var x, it's mutable. But I'll say, okay, val x, it's immutable. Okay. So a variable which is immutable, okay, in the field of Spark, we say that variable is an RDD. That variable is a RDD. ओके. सो अगर मैं आपसे कहता हूँ स्पार्क में एक आरडीडी बनाना है, तो यू हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट इट शुड बी इम्यूटेबल ऑब्जेक्ट. इधर इट, अगर आप स्काला में काम कर रहे हो, यू विल क्रिएट अ वैल. अगर आप जावा में काम कर रहे हो, यू विल यूज फाइनल कीवर्ड. ओके तान्या, गेटिंग दैट? Perfect. Perfect. So now we know what's an RDD. But x variable, मतलब x is equal to 2, मतलब उसको RDD कहना अच्छी बात नहीं है, because एक RDD में बहुत ज़्यादा डेटा होना चाहिए. For example, you have a file and that file content is stored in a variable, then it's good to say okay, it's a RDD. बट ऐसा नहीं है कि एक सिंगल वेरिएबल को मैं RDD नहीं कह सकता. But ideally that variable should not contain a single value. rather it should contain the data of a file, because then only we can say we are doing big data processing. तो अगर मैं कहता हूँ val x equals to and then I store some content of a file, then it's good to say it's a RDD. Okay. But if you say val x is equal to 2, still it's an RDD, but that's not a big data. That's a very small value. Okay. So that was one thing. One doubt about Scala. हाँ गुलजार बोलो.
सर ये स्केला के साथ जो ये ग्रेटर देन जैसा सिंबल जो आ रहा है, ये तो नेक्स्ट क्वेरी लिखने का के लिए ना, कि क्वेरी को रन करने के बाद आता है, ये किसी भी क्वेरी को रन करने के बाद आएगा?
ये तो आपको हाइव में भी आता था ना, पिग में भी आता
ये
था,
सर आता
राइट? ये तो सिर्फ एक शेल है, मतलब it just to tell you that okay, this is what your shell is. It has nothing
सर, पर
with the previous or the old code.
तो सर, तो इस शेल के ना आने का मतलब ये कि सिस्टम स्लो है, कि क्लाउडेरा स्लो चल रहा है?
हाँ, आपकी केस में नहीं आ रहा, मतलब कि क्लाउडेरा स्लो चल रहा है.
अच्छा
आपका अभी तक लोड नहीं हुआ,
सर,
अभी तक
सर
लोड नहीं
जो
हुआ.
आपने सर एक्चुअली वो इंटीजर इंट एक्स इक्वल टू 2 तक हुआ है अभी तो।
हाँ, तो उसके बाद एंटर कर दो, वो तो इमीडिएटली आ जाना चाहिए विद इन 1 सेकेंड.
सर एंटर तो किया है मैंने।
अब वो हो सकता है आपका सिस्टम स्लो होगा, मतलब अभी तो देख रहे हो मेरा सिस्टम भी स्लो हो गया है, तो इट मे गेट हैंग समटाइम, सो डोंट वरी अबाउट दैट.
ठीक है सर, जो कंसोल का जो एरर है इसमें कि कमांड एक बार रन किया है, तो जैसे कि एक बार रन करने पे वो एरर 2 बार बता रहे हो उस एरर को। अगर हमने इंट एक्स इक्वल टू 2 को एक बार रन किया था तो वो सेम है, तो वो 2 बार बता रहा है कि ये एरर है वैल्यू इंट का।
गुलजार, मैंने आपको प्रेजेंटर बना दिया है, प्लीज शो मी कि क्या एरर आ रहा है.
सर इज इट विजिबल नाउ?
हाँ जी गुलजार, इट्स वेरी मच विजिबल.
सर कि
हाँ,
इंट एक्स इक्वल टू 2 को मैंने ए, एक बार रन किया
हाँ.
था, तो ये 2 बार बता रहे हैं वो सेम एरर को। ऐसा कैसे होगा?
You don't need to worry about that. Understand the concept. Okay, the point is you are using Scala, so you cannot use the Java syntax here. Only very few Java commands are allowed in Scala, because Scala is compatible with Java. So there are certain commands which you can definitely use, but not all. तो int x is equal to 2 ये जावा का सिंटेक्स है, तो इसे यूज मत करो. ओके, आई जस्ट वांट टू टेल यू, ये जावा का सिंटेक्स है, इसको यूज मत करो. स्काला का सिंटेक्स यूज करो.
सर
वैर एक्स इज इक्वल टू 2 करो, वैर एक्स इज इक्वल टू 2 करो जल्दी से.
नहीं हो रहा टाइप यहाँ पे तो।
हाँ, तो कोई नहीं, हो जाएगा, टाइप हो जाएगा. माय पॉइंट इज कि int x इज इक्वल टू 2 ये जावा का सिंटेक्स है. स्काला में ऐसा नहीं होता, हम डेटा टाइप डिक्लेयर नहीं करते हैं, हम या तो वैर बनाते हैं या वैल बनाते हैं. वैर मतलब होता है म्यूटेबल, वैल मतलब होता है इम्यूटेबल. ओके, तो RDDs are always immutable. RDDs are always immutable. So we need to create an RDD with val, not var. Okay.
ओके सर।
ठीक है, गिव बैक द कंट्रोल टू मी. अब वो स्लो है, आई कैन नॉट डू अबाउट दैट एनीथिंग गुलजार. ओके गाइस, तो अभी तक हमने क्या देखा? हमने स्पार्क शेल देखा। स्पार्क शेल में हमने देखा कि स्काला शेल पे हम पहुंचे, जहां हम स्काला की कमांड्स रन कर सकते हैं। उसमें हम वैर और वैल का ये तरीका है स्काला में वेरिएबल्स बनाने का। और अ, हाँ, RDDs are always immutable. We will create RDDs in the next class using that Spark context, which is sc.read file. We will do that. But now the point is that we are not going to do Scala or Java, right? We have to do Python. So for Python, there is a separate shell known as PySpark. This is the hottest skill in the market right now, the most important PySpark. Okay, so guys, type in PySpark here on the new shell and you will enter into the Spark with Python. Just type in that. So we are going inside PySpark now. So Nitika or Tanya, I think someone was asking, right? Python. So this is where we can do Python coding. So for Spark, if you have to do Python coding, we have PySpark. So here you will be doing all the Python things. We will be creating RDD. Here also we will create RDD using Python. And Spark does not support pandas, right? Remember I told you Spark does not support pandas. So there is a project which was there. Can anyone remember that project name? Which project allowed the support for pandas in Spark? Yeah, people. Absolutely, Nitika. Very good. It was koalas. Koala, as in, like, I think a type of panda. It's koalas, right? Yeah, Gulzar. Yes. And you can read more about it on the Databricks website, right? Databricks is controlling all these things. So, guys, please let me know once you are inside the PySpark. Gulzar, you can open another shell for you want to exit Scala, you type in quit and use quit as a function. Quit as a function. Yes, sir. Do this. Quit as a function or exit as a function. You will be outside of it. फिर भी नहीं होता है तो कुछ मत करो, कंट्रोल Z कर दो या कंट्रोल C कर दो। अगर वो नहीं आता है बाहर तो कंट्रोल C या आप कंट्रोल Z से भी बाहर आ सकते हो।
Excuse me, sir.
Okay, Nitika. Gulzar, you exit and do that.
सर पर जो कंट्रोल जेड से वो फंक्शन सेव्ड तो रहेगा जो हमने उसमें रन किया है।
कुछ भी सेव नहीं रहेगा, सब लॉस्ट हो जाएगा बिकॉज यू आर आउटसाइड ऑफ अ सेशन, सो वट एवर वर्क यू डिड इज लॉस्ट।
तो फिर बाद में रिवाइज करना हो तो
ओके, नो प्रॉब्लम, यू ओपन अ न्यू शेल फ्रॉम हियर गुलजार, फ्रॉम हियर।
ओके सर।
So if you see, we are going inside PySpark, and here you can see the Python version is 2.6.6. 2.6.6. So currently it's running PySpark with Python 2.6. Ideally, this is a very old version. So we should use Python 3.5. So there is a way using which we can ask PySpark to point to Python 3 instead of Python 2. Okay, we can do that also. We will talk about that later. But you can change the Python version which your PySpark is pointing to. And we have to do that actually because Python 2 का support अब बंद हो चुका है. Python 2 का support बंद हो चुका है and companies are moving to Python 3. It's a must. It will take some time, and then you will be inside the PySpark. So few things to remember here, guys. What happens is, good, Nishta. What happens is, when you talk about PySpark, so say this is your PySpark, okay? PySpark environment. You are submitting a program here. You are submitting a program here. Okay, you submit a program here. That PySpark program, first gets converted into the JVM program. You can say the Scala or the Java, whatever. So the program that you have written is in Python. That gets converted into the JVM based program first, and then it runs on the Spark. Whereas if you run a Scala or a Java based project, there is no conversion. It directly runs on the JVM or the Spark. Getting it? Scala or Java based program directly runs on the Spark. But Python program first needs to be converted into the bytecode or the JVM based language. So there is this conversion which happens, due to which PySpark is comparatively slow as compared to Scala or Java for Spark, because of an additional conversion process involved. But this conversion happens very, very fast, within seconds. So it really does not make much difference. So if this is taking, say, 10 seconds to complete, this may take 11 seconds to complete. Or if this is taking, say, 1 minute to complete, this may complete in 1 minute and 2 seconds or 3 seconds. This is not a very big thing, but you should be aware about it. Getting it, guys? You agree that Python first should get converted into the JVM based language because Spark understands Scala or a JVM language. So there is a conversion that happens, but that conversion happens automatically by a program which is known as Py4J. The program is known as Py for Python, Py for numerical 4, and J for Java. Okay, so this program Py4J is the one which actually do the conversion from Python to Java or Python to JVM. Yeah, it's Py4J. You can Google about it. It's an important thing. So sometimes in interview they may ask you, what's the role of Py4J? Spark, PySpark. Okay. Guys, is it clear? Any question? Okay, perfect.
एक्सक्यूज मी सर.
हाँ जी गुलजार.
सर एक्चुअली अभी इस काला एग्जिट और अदर से लाने के लिए मैंने ये चारों कमांड्स भी मैंने ट्राई किए जो आपने चैट्स में डाले थे, और वो जो शेल का क्लिक भी वो ट्राई किया जो आपने डाउनलोड किया था. तो मतलब तो मतलब सिर्फ स्पीड एनहांस कराने की जरूरत है. मतलब तब भी नहीं आ रहा तो
आप इसको 12 GB रैम करवा लो लैपटॉप में.
ठीक है फिर.
मतलब I really I'm helpless here.
ओके सर. मतलब वो तो भी सर वो तो फिर अब नेक्स्ट वीक ही हो पाएगा. ये रैम चेंज कराना तो नेक्स्ट वीक ही होगा.
No problem. Okay. So guys, so far we have seen how to spark the Scala shell for Scala or the Java shell, and how to start the Spark shell. I think it's taking some time on my machine. So, Nishtha, I'm giving you the control. I would just ask you to do it. I think performance might be good at your end. Okay, I don't have the control. Damini, are you there? Like, can you make Nishtha presenter? I think I have lost the right to do the presentation. Damini, are you there? You can make either me the presenter or Nishtha. So Nishtha, she is just making you the presenter. 1 minute. Okay, so we talked about PySpark. In PySpark, there is a component known as Py4j, which is actually there to convert the Python program into the Scala program. That conversion is very, very fast, but definitely that's an overhead. However, lot of efforts have been made to make it fast. Like ये conversion को बहुत ही fast कर दिया गया है. So now either you write a program in PySpark or even in Scala, they run in the same amount of time. Okay, they run in the same amount of time with very less negligible amount of delay. Okay. So Nishtha, yeah, you can show your screen. Okay. So now if you look here, you are inside the Spark shell. This is the PySpark shell, right? But here also you will see those two contexts. Can you see those, Anishtha? The SC and the SQL context, the Spark context and the SQL context. Type
Yes,
in
sir.
SC, type in SC
Sir,
and press enter.
sir, can I give you the remote control? So you can.
No, it's
do it
fine.
on-
It's fine. We are just having next 15 minutes class. It will
Okay.
be having your hands on also. Matlab, it's good if you do it. Type in SC and enter. Okay, see guys, here if you see, I told you, right, there is a driver which runs with the help of Spark context. So you will see here you have a Spark context object in the PySpark. Now type in SQL context and enter. Capital C. No, SQL context लिखा है ना वहाँ पे निष्ठा ऊपर आप देखेंगे तो Hive context available as SQL context. Very good. तो अब यहाँ पर आप देख रहे हैं कि you have two contexts and SC is for RDDs, SQL context is for data frames. Now type in SQL context.SQL. And within brackets, within single quotes, type in show tables. Show tables के बाद चलो कोई नहीं. Now guys, what this is going to do? This is going to run this query in Hive and going to bring in the Hive tables to you. But sometimes ये Hive का connection break हो जाता है. Spark और Hive आपस में बात नहीं कर पाते because of that meta store. Let's see कि ये करेगा काम या नहीं. But sometimes it does not work. SQL context.sql is there to run the queries on Hive, and we are going to get that data from the Hive. So it's first going to talk to the meta store. अगर meta store से वो connect हो पाएगा तो it will run, otherwise Spark will throw the error. If you see here, Nishtha, meta store, right? It's reading from the meta store and failed to get the database default, right? It's saying that meta store dot object store, the last second last line, yeah, warning, yeah, this warning. It's not able to connect to the particular database, so it's not returning you any table name, right? So if you see data frame, empty data frame is returning. Can you select that data frame word? Yeah. So guys, if you see, I executed the SQL context command. It returned me data frame, not the RDD, and this data frame is empty, but it contains a schema, the table name, and whether it's temporary or not. Remember, Vipul, I was telling in the last class, then in Hive, you can create temporary tables also. Okay. So is temporary true or false tells you whether it's like temporary or permanent, and then it gives you all the table names. So I will resolve that tomorrow. I will show you that tomorrow. So Nishta, you have a call, some other call, like I didn't get it, or you can continue.
No, sir, I don't have to go anywhere.
Okay, perfect. Similarly, now Nishta, can you type sc.read file? sc.read file capital. File का F capital. And inside this, just put double quotes or single quotes, whatever. Don't give any path, just leave it. So what we are doing guys, we are trying to read a file, a HDFS file. We have to give that path inside it. I am not giving it right now. Just press enter. Okay, it does not have this. Okay, text file. Nishta, instead of read file, it is text file.
Okay.
sc.text file, F capital. Yeah. There are a lot of commands actually. Yeah, enter. Perfect. Yeah. So my partition is this. Yeah. So that means it actually tried to read the data from somewhere, and you see that RDD, guys, you can see map partition RDD. RDDs are of multiple types. We will talk about them tomorrow. This is a map partition RDD that it created to read this data. Okay, so we will talk about all these things tomorrow in detail. But I wanted to show you that SC is creating the RDDs and SQL context is creating the data frames. Okay, but one important thing to note is, Nishta, give back the control to me.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now there are some important concepts that I'm going to tell you. You saw that what Nishtha did was she used the Spark context to read a HDFS file, and it successfully show you that it's creating an RDD. But don't you think कि उसको error देना चाहिए था? Because Nishtha didn't give any path here, file path. It should have given an error, right? Agree or not? Or do you think that it will be reading from some default path? What do you think? It should give an error or it should read from some default path? No, it should give you an error. It should give you an error. But it didn't give you error. Why? Because Spark is lazy. It's very lazy. It's not very active. Huh? It creates DAG. It creates directed acyclic graph. We talked about it, like directed acyclic graphs. So very good, Vipul. So what Spark do? Spark is very lazy. You say read a file. Spark say okay boss, I have read the file. But उसने कुछ read ही नहीं किया. Then you say okay filter some data. It will say okay boss, I have filtered the data. But still it does not do anything. It is very lazy. वो आपको पागल बना रहा है. जब आप उसको कहते हो कि कैन यू शो मी द फाइनल आउटपुट, तब वो नींद से जागता है, कहता है ओ मुझे तो बहुत सारा काम करना है, लेट मी डू इट. तो इट रीड द फाइल, फिल्टर इट एंड देन शो यू द डेटा. So that means Spark is very lazy, first of all, and it keeps creating a DAG in memory. अपनी मेमोरी में जानकारी इकट्ठा करता रहता है. I'll tell you, Nitika. So ultimately, guys, when you actually ask Spark to show you the final data, at that time it will actually read this file, and Nishtha didn't give any file, right? So at that point it will throw error that the file does not exist or you haven't provided a file. Okay. So Nishtha, what I'm sorry, Nitika, what I'm saying is you have run the read file command or text file command, and you have given a path which does not exist. Okay. Spark will not throw any error. It will say okay done. जैसा भी हमने देखा निष्ठा के केस में map partition RDD. Then you will say okay, let's do some group by aggregate analytics. It will say okay done. Some basic kind of operation. But ultimately when you ask it to show you the final data, अब वो आपको पागल नहीं बना सकता, because final data should be the processed data. At that time it actually start from the very first point in the DAG, read the file, do the filter or whatever operation, and then show you the data. So that's what is like lazy evaluation, and that's what where it uses DAG. DAGs are stored in memory. So even Spark में memory के अंदर data के साथ साथ DAGs भी stored होते हैं. DAG मतलब flow of the process that it need to execute. Okay, Nitika? Perfect. Similarly हमने SQL context देखा था. SQL context भी वही काम करता है. मतलब SQL context में आपने एक SQL रन करने को बोला था, तो वो भी वैसे ही काम करता है. The only thing is कि instead of RDDs, it keeps creating data frames at every step. Okay, we will talk about that also. So whether you work on Spark context or SQL context, everything is lazily evaluated. It's a lazy execution. Okay. So those of you who want, they can still use my GitHub account for the code. One second, Vipula. So guys, here you can look for the Apache Spark code and advanced Spark code and the Flink code. Flink you cannot directly work because Flink is not available on VM. You have to install and set up Flink. So leave it. But this is the Apache Spark. Here, if you see, this is the DAGs image. Let me show you how a DAG looks like. You started with this was the first operation, which was to read a file, for example, do some filter, do some map operation. So these are all map operations, guys, that we will talk about in Spark. read the data, filter it, map it, reduce by key, map, parallelize, filter, map, whatever. And then I'm joining two RDDs here. If you look at, this is one RDD. From here to here, this is one RDD. This is another RDD. I'm joining these two RDDs here. So it's like two tables, and you are joining the two tables to get the final output. Okay. So this is how your DAX looks like. It's a flow of steps and whatever operations we are doing. We will see this DAX for our queries, the queries that we will run, the queries that we will run. Then there is this Spark 1.0 and 2.0 commands. So guys, we will be see Spark 1.0 यूज कर रहे हैं हम लोग, तो वहां पे हम sc.text फाइल यूज करते हैं RDD बनाने के लिए, और SQL कंटेक्स्ट यूज करते हैं डेटा फ्रेम बनाने के लिए, राइट. बट Spark 2.0 में स्पार्क कॉन्टेक्स्ट या SQL कंटेक्स्ट की जगह एक चीज आ गई है, स्पार्क सेशन. We will talk about it. Spark 2.0 में there is something known as Spark session. You don't need two contexts separately. Earlier we used to have Spark context and SQL context. Now everything can be done with Spark session. Everything can be done with Spark session. You don't need two separate contexts. Just ignore this. Don't worry about this. Ignore this line. What I'm saying is this line itself is more than enough. Spark session replaced both Spark context and SQL context. Spark 2.0 में वो कहते हैं कि दो अलग अलग चीजों की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. Okay. This is the biggest difference. So tomorrow we will do this coding, this all hands-on. We will create a file. We will try to read it through the command. So what Nishta did was, right now we didn't give any path here, right? We will give the path here. And we will put some data inside that file. We will try to do some operations. No, we will use Python's lambda expressions. Map, flat map, these are all important things. You can convert an RDD to a data frame. So we will see that. Okay, so this is like the Python packages. From this you import this. So everything is like Python syntax. We will talk about this. Okay. So but if anyone wants to go through these codes, at least they can go to this. Advanced Spark also is available. You can go through all this code, concepts and data sets. There are certain documents available. You can go through that also. Okay, one second. Do you give some exercise related to when you hire for data science role? I have heard of people getting at least SQL and Pythons for data science role. So what happens, Vipul, is like there are multiple rounds. Okay, so how it happens is normally they start with the SQL. They check your SQL knowledge first, which is most important. Then they check your ML and data science knowledge. So Vipul, definitely पहले तो ये क्लियर होना चाहिए, आपको हडूप के लिए हायर कर रहे हैं डेटा साइंस के लिए. हडूप के केस में आपसे एसक्यूएल और जावा या पाइथन यही पूछा जाता है, लेकिन डेटा साइंस के केस में फिर एक एडिशनल आपका स्टैटिस्टिक्स और मशीन लर्निंग ऐड हो जाता है, और उसके प्रॉपर हैंड्स ऑन होते हैं, प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट दी जाती है, आपको डेटा दिया जाता है टू सॉल्व. ओके, you are given proper data and laptop to solve that problem. और आजकल तो हैकर रैंक या हैकर अर्थ के आपको लिंक दे दिए जाते हैं, वहीं पे ही क्वेश्चंस दे दिए जाते हैं, वो वहां पर आपके लिए प्रैक्टिकल क्वेश्चंस होते हैं, यू हैव टू सॉल्व देम. Okay. So we will see tomorrow, like when you run the PySpark program, how they look like. You will see that in the yarn, the application type earlier was MapReduce, now it will be Spark, running from the PySpark shells. Okay, so we will run certain programs. So this is how the Spark logs looks like. When we look for the Spark, we will see that this is the Spark link. Like you have resource manager, uh, we can see the Spark logs. Here we can see that which commands we have run inside Spark. Here we are trying to read a JSON file. How much time each step took, how much stages and how much tasks this program contains. I just show you a DAG, right? There were some stages. Within each stage there are multiple tasks like map task, reduce task होता था map reduce में. यहाँ पर हर एक चीज एक टास्क होती है. तो किस टास्क ने कितना टाइम लिया, उसके लॉग्स, वी विल चेक ऑल दीज थिंग्स. We have a proper way of looking at like how many executors were used by my system. Executor 1, executor 2. First of all, the driver was started and then 2 executors were started, and then executor का जब काम खत्म हो जाता है, executors they starts to remove. ठीक है, executors हटने शुरू हो जाते हैं. And in the logs we will also see the DAGs, the DAG visualization, like first step, second step, stages. This is the first task, second task, this is the stage. So we will see all these things inside our logs tomorrow. Okay, so everything that we have talked about, DAGs, executors, everything is very much visible if you see here. These are the detailed logs. So I'm just closing this one. So my point is, guys, go through these links, Spark and Advanced Spark. I'm pinging you, and tomorrow we will code them. You can use wget command and download this data already before we start tomorrow's class. Before we start tomorrow's class, you can download all these data sets. Yes, Nista, I have answered Vipul's question. So again, it's very much, it depends upon the requirement, Vipul and Nista. Like for a data science role, whether I'm asking Hadoop questions or not, it depends upon the requirement. For example, for some data scientists, it's important to know about a NoSQL database, or to know about Hive, or at least PySpark. Okay. I have seen the data scientists who first need to analyze the data which is stored inside Hive. So they run Hive queries. But that same query, which takes say half an hour in Hive, can take 2 minutes in Spark. Same data which is in Hive and the same query, when I run in Spark, it will complete in 2 minutes. So I need you to know PySpark, right? Instead of Hive, because you will not wait for half an hour to run a query when you can complete it in 2 minutes. So I need to know that कि आपको PySpark या Spark SQL आता है कि नहीं, because SQL is very very important. Okay, but normally they don't ask you pig, scoop, UC for data science. They don't ask all these things. Okay, Nishta, is it clear? Vipul, Nishta. So you need to know Hive SQL and Spark SQL. That's it. To be very frank, these are the only two things that you should know. and Linux, definitely Linux. No Java, no Scala, nothing. Okay, guys, thanks a lot for. So I'm done for the day. Tomorrow we will do the hands-on, detailed hands-on, and see all those things which I just show to you inside this file. Just now, all the logs. Okay, so guys, you can disconnect. Thanks a lot. Gulzar, you can stay. Tell me. What is the
एक्सक्यूज
question?
मी सर, क्या आपका गिटहब का अपने जो पीपीटीज का गिटहब का लिंक भेज दोगे, जो शुरू की क्लास में जो आपने रिग्रेशन और क्लस्टरिंग की एल्गोरिथम्स का जो कराया था आपने, एक
गुलजार
बार
ये
उसकी
था।
पीपीटी का भी लिंक भेज दो सर। एक्चुअली मैंने आपके गिटहब से ट्राई किया था ढूंढने का, पर वो नहीं मिला था। कई बार मैंने ट्राई किया है आपके गिटहब अकाउंट से, तब
नहीं नहीं, आप मतलब मैं यहाँ डालने का पर्पस ही है ना गुलजार, कि मुझे शेयर ना करना पड़े सब कुछ। ये रहे ना पीपीटीज, ये रहे सारे पीपीटीज, आप इनमें से ले लो। मैं ये लिंक शेयर कर देता हूँ ना, यहाँ से ले लो पीपीटीज।
ठीक है, थैंक यू सर। और सर
ठीक है, बाकी सब और पीपीटीज अलग अलग फोल्डर में हो सकते हैं, आप वहां से ले सकते हैं। हाँ बोलो।
जैसे ये आपके साथ जब क्लासेस हुई हैं कि क्लासेस में, तो मुझे कई बार इसी बात का कंफ्यूजन हो जाता है कि आपके साथ जो पढ़ रहे हैं वो कौन सा क्या हमारे कोर्स का और क्या एडिशनल है।
सब
तो
कुछ आपके
मतलब
कोर्स, सब कुछ आपके कोर्स में है, कुछ भी आपके कोर्स के बाहर का नहीं है।
नहीं, तो मतलब जो एडिशनल आप खुद बताते हो, जो एडिशनल टॉपिक्स हैं, उसका मतलब क्या होता है फिर?
नहीं, एडिशनल कुछ भी नहीं है, सब कुछ आपके कोर्स का है।
अच्छा, ठीक है सर।
ठीक है, बस पॉइंट ये होता है
ठीक
कि
है
कुछ आप में से जो लोग पूछते हैं कि ये डेटा साइंस के लिए काम आएगा कि नहीं आएगा, वो एक अलग क्वेश्चन है। बट आप लोगों का जो कोर्स है उसमें ये सब है जो मैं पढ़ा रहा हूँ। बट
ठीक है
अब
सर।
कोई मुझसे पूछेगा कि डेटा साइंस में ये सब पूछा जाएगा कि नहीं, बिग डेटा का, तो वो एक अलग बात है कि डेटा साइंटिस्ट को कोई जरूरी नहीं है कि जावा पूछेगा या ऊजी पूछेगा। ठीक है, तो वो एक अलग बात है। बट आपका जो कोर्स है पीजी का, उसमें वो सब है जो मैं पढ़ा रहा हूँ। मतलब मैं कुछ एडिशनल एसेट्स नहीं पढ़ा रहा।
ओके सर।
हम्म।
ठीक है, थैंक यू सर।
ओके, चलो, और कोई क्वेश्चन है? Okay, guys, anyone else if have any questions, do ping me on WhatsApp. Thanks a lot.